Welcome back to Andi and Mich, the podcast where two sisters, two generations, and two very different group chat vibes come together.
Today we're talking about something that's a little woo, a little taboo, and maybe just a little too accurate at times. Psychics.
Yep, mediums, tarot cards, energy readers, the whole thing. Are they scams or are they spiritual guides? Or are they just a way to help us see things in ourselves that we can't always see on our own?
We'll share our own stories of seeing psychics, what we've learned or didn't, and whether the magic is real or the real magic is just in reflection.
So grab your cafecito, shuffle your tarot deck, and let's dive in. We talk about this a lot just in everyday general conversations. And I've noticed that it's become more mainstream. You see a lot of these topics on social media, a lot of tarot readers, oracle readers, mediums, and it feels like it's become more mainstream and more potentially acceptable and accessible to people. I looked it up and I was so fascinated to find statistics on how many people consult with some sort of psychic or tarot reader or fortune teller at least once a year. And in the US alone, it's over 30%. 20% engage for entertainment, 10% believe that the practices give them helpful insights. And according to this study, only 1% say they rely a lot, quote unquote, on these practices for major life decisions. And this is based on just research in the US. I'm sure it looks different if we look globally.
I think a lot of people would probably refrain from saying that they go to a psychic because there can be negative connotations, especially if you come from like a religious background. And then on the flip side, depending on what culture you're part of and you've been raised upon, it's a little bit more embraced. So it just depends on which side of the spectrum you're coming from.
A lot of the common types of psychic and or spiritual practices, because that's kind of how they're labeled, is like tarot readings or oracle readings. Astrology is a big one that's also in that category. We've talked a lot about that, which is really crazy because I feel like I haven't seen a palm reader in like forever, but apparently it's still a very popular thing. Mediumship. Mediums are folks who can communicate via various senses with spirit or with the beyond. Aura readings is very popular, especially that's become very trendy. Spiritual and energy healing has also spiked in recent years, which is like Reiki, energy sessions. There's all different kinds of energy healers. And then you have the traditional ancestral practices like shamans, gurus, curanderos, so on and so forth. And that's just probably a short list. I'm sure under each of those topics, there are 10 other modalities that exist. So it's going to be really interesting to deep dive into this topic. But here we go. Let's give it a shot. Let's see where spirit takes us. Funny enough, we tried to record this episode. I mean, we set the tone, we saged the space, we had our cards, we were ready. But spirit said, hell no. While it was processing, it just completely disappeared. And even tech support could not find it. So we're going to give it another shot. And again, no sleep, wired, and tired.
Honestly, these circumstances are in which the best conversations in my life have happened.
I've had the most epiphanies, being completely unhinged on caffeine.
Let's do it.
So, Mich, let's get down to the nitty gritty. What led you to want to see a psychic?
I didn't want to.
There you have it, folks.
To be fair, okay, hang on. Let's backtrack. When I was a baby, our entire life, we have had experiences with people who have higher than normal levels of perception, empathy, very sensitive women.
Well, we have more women than men in our family. We've come from a very strong matriarch. What were some of your earliest experiences around like psychics, mediums, those kinds of connections?
My first experience was some random lady who walked up to me and wanted to do a reading. I went into her little office space in Venice Beach with a friend. She read for him first, and then she read for me. And then when she read for me, She warned me when he had left the space to never speak with him. And then it turned out not too long after that experience, he got arrested because he made bad choices.
So
So
she was right.
she was right. We have a grandma who refused to read my cards out of everyone in the family, which I'll never understand. And then she died. Really upset about that. Don't come for me, grandma.
Which is so weird.
Yeah, she read everybody else's. And then we have an aunt who will throughout my life has done some type of readings or guidance sessions to kind of just answer questions that I have or help. And then the first real paid scenario would have been the lady that you gifted.
Yeah. So
to
I
me.
gifted Mitch a full on psychic reading that included just kind of a general ask questions about your future, your life, and a mediumship.
Yeah, which is very sweet. It was very informative. She gave me a lot of fun information and shared some details about my experiences that kind of like, girl, who are you talking to? Did my sister give you the notes? Is she punking me right now? I definitely approached every single scenario from a place of curiosity and wonder. I like the idea that there are people that are more in touch with their senses and they can maybe kind of guide us or give us like a nudge in the right direction. That's kind of a cool romantic way to look at life.
Welcome back to Andi and Mich, a podcast where two sisters.
So no lie, I don't know why, if it's just the topic, but we're having weird technical difficulties. We mentioned earlier the first time we tried to record this, it recorded, but then when it was processing to save, it disappeared and deleted completely.
Yeah.
And nobody could find any trace or remnants of it, even tech support, and they were surprised that they couldn't pull it. And now we're trying to record, and there's just like weird technical overlaps. So we're just gonna flow with it. You know what I'm saying? You know, spirit be spiriting.
We're just going to be keeping it nice and light.
I mean, I agree with you. I do think that if you can approach it from a place of curiosity and wonder and just kind of be open, and then it can be helpful, it can be useful. Did you believe her?
I did. And there was a part at the end where she's like, I see you traveling a lot in your late 30s, early 40s. I'm like, time is ticking. Out of the United States. So it was really interesting. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I think for me, it's like I don't take things as like finite or definite, but it's cool again to just kind of wonder and to see the possibilities, even if they're not from your own mind's eye. For you, growing up, what was your impression of psychics compared to your experiences with them?
I remember at a very young age being exposed to our grandmothers in different ways who dabbled in these kind of extracurricular activities around spirituality, energy healing, psychics stuff, tarot cards, and curanderismo, which two different sides of the family, two different belief systems. One side of the family, our one grandmother, she had been raised more around santería. And so her practices were very ritual like. It was like people would come to her for like different reasons. I need money or someone's so sick, you know, whatever the thing was that they were trying to fix. And so she'd create little potions and little jars for a ritual that people could do to help heal the wound or address the issue that they had. And then people would pay her for that. And she was like known locally in the community. And I remember one of the first times it really clicked for me, I was maybe elementary school, and a woman had come because she wanted, there was some issues around love and potential cheating, wanted to make sure she could keep her man, basically. That's the summarized version. So I watched my grandma go into her closet and get all these things. I don't know what all the stuff was. She had like jars and all kinds of stuff, herbs and different spices and different things, and put together a little jar and then gives it to the lady and gives her directions. And then the lady's like so thankful. She gives her cash. My grandma sticks it in her bra because that's traditional bank accounting back in the day.
A woman's original bank account.
Yeah, your bra, your mattress, something like that. She stuck it in her bra. And I was like, oh, crap.
She's a hustler.
She's a witch doctor. Like, she hustled for real.
She really did.
She was getting paid for her gifts. And a lot of people would come to her for that. And then on the flip side, our other side of the family, that grandmother was more conservative, a little more quiet. She worked as a nurse, so natural healer in so many ways.
Uh-huh.
A lot of history with her also, and indigenous practices and curanderismo, natural healing. She definitely had the gift of sight and insight, and she had her tarot cards. So we had seen her tarot cards growing up. She didn't really talk about them a lot. She didn't really pull them out and be like, oh, let me read your cards every time she saw you. It was like a very rare thing for her to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But she would do it for people that knew her or that she felt comfortable around. And I never saw her do it like as a whole side gig, but it was very much a part of who she was.
Yeah, and she did it for family too.
Yeah, and friends and things like that.
Yeah, except me.
Except for you. Maybe she felt like it wouldn't help you.
She did have the gift of sight. She told our cousin that she could not read for me.
Mm.
And that was it. And left it at that. And I was like, come on.
And her gift of sight was very accurate. And she did the cards. She read the cards for me when I was a little bit older. I was like in my very early 20s, the first time she ever read my cards. And it was scarily accurate because there are things that there's no way she would have known about, like some details. And I was very impressed. People will pay you big money for this.
You need to be putting that money in that bra, grandma.
Yeah, you need to take a note from the other grandma and get your hustle on. She would have dreams a lot. And I remember her calling the house and saying, oh, what happened to your mom? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, I had a dream that your mom was walking around along a narrow stream and she fell down and broke her ankle. And she calls early in the morning. So happened then that night before, our mom actually was walking down a cluttered hallway, tripped and fell and broke her ankle.
So random.
And she used to call about different things.
That's grandma. A little bit wondrous, a little bit wonderful, a little bit scary.
And then we had like tias, other people just in our neighborhood, you know, that would talk about different things like that. It was on TV a lot. Like, what was that, the 90s with the Psychic Network?
And then also like Walter Mercado. He did astrology.
The Montel Williams show, Sylvia Brown.
I'm just going to put it, she might be one of our long lost aunts. But she's great. And apparently she predicted COVID.
I read something about that. Yeah. You asked me earlier, like, do you think people go to this because of curiosity or for just entertainment? And when we think about that, like when we think back to watching somebody like Sylvia Brown on TV, it was like this new era of new age stuff. That's what they used to call it, right? The new age bookstores or the new age TV shows or TV episodes. If we think back to that, it was both. I think people were very curious about it and still are, especially if it's maybe something new or they haven't really spent a lot of time around. And also, it is entertaining. It gives you something fun to think about and to play with a little bit.
Yeah. There's even the new ones. Tyler, he's the one, like, he'll touch objects and then he also scribbles.
Scribbles.
He does. He scribbles on this.
Like, automatic writing.
Yeah. It's like little scribbles on this sheet of paper. And then he's telling you like your deepest, darkest secrets. And you're like, what is happening? How did that tell you that?
Here, let me see those scribbles, Tyler.
And then there's like something which I've heard of, and I don't know, angel channeling, which I find that fascinating. What was the question? Yeah, so I think like some of the reasons people like to kind of turn to these extracurriculars, as you said earlier, some of it is cultural based. Some of it's like they find a sense of spirituality in the practice and the nature of it. Sometimes you just want a mirror. You want to be able to be asked the questions that you are not asked by your peers or your immediate circles. And it gives you that freedom to kind of engage in a different outcome of your life. And then other times it's like grief. You're trying to soothe yourself from a terrible loss or occurrence. And then other times it's just validation. You just want to be validated that you're going in the right direction. Especially if you don't have like a good support system, it could be something that is utilized as a tool to find that validation outside of yourself.
Yeah. From the show Ted Lasso, if you haven't seen it, great show. Higgins is a character on there. There is an episode where they touch on this idea of psychics as like, are they charlatans or are they actually helpful? And he says this really great quote. And he says, the universe is full of things we can't explain. And psychics, even if some of them are charlatans, they can help us see something in ourselves that we can't quite see ourselves. And I thought that was so well said because it sums it up. You know, it's like, even if they're not really great at being a psychic, it gives you the mirror that you may need to know or to hear or to see or to understand something differently for yourselves based on whatever response they give you.
Even if it's not magical, it can be meaningful.
I think most of my experiences have been pretty magical. Don't be jelly, but I've seen a few psychics in my time and we'll continue to see more, I'm sure. I'm actually well overdue for a psychic reading. Although there's just so much going on in the world that I'm like not sure that I want to hear the things. I've gone to psychics for different reasons at different points in my time. And I feel like they have all been fairly accurate in different ways. And what I have found fascinating is that the ones that I have seen have all referred to this idea that we have multiple types of spirit around us, whether that's loved ones that have passed on, ancestors, including ones we've never met, guides, angels, some sort of council that's comprised of a bunch of these different people. We have like a board of directors basically on the other side.
That's a great analogy.
That's like helping us, trying to keep us on track for whatever our life path or purpose is, which, you know, we're not going to get into the weeds of all that in terms of like beliefs around it. But I do think it's fascinating that they all have similar ways of approaching this, even though they kind of talk about it a little differently. There was one that was very much into the angels and that kind of stuff. And then another that didn't really talk as much about angels, but did talk about all these other types of spirits that can be around you, supporting you and guiding you through life. And that really piqued my curiosity. I was like, oh my gosh, tell me more. I want to know who these guides are. I need to know what their names are. What do they look like?
Describe them.
Yeah. What did they do in their past life? How are we connected? You know?
Yeah.
And you can really go down the rabbit hole with all of that stuff.
Our aunt, who is one of the ones that is probably the more impressive people that I've had to like speak with on things. She's very, 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 very connected and intuitive and all that stuff. She was the first person that introduced the concept of a council. So it's a council of spirit guides. And then she was like explaining what my council was called, who they were, all these things. And I was just staring at her like, what? Word? That's cool. I just have like an army of people walking with me everywhere, or floating in their case, floating.
Oh my God. Mind blown. The first lady that I ever paid, she was really good. She was the one that actually told me I was going to get sick. So I have had cancer in my lifetime. And at the time, I wasn't sick. I was pretty healthy for the most part. I was doing fine. So when she kind of told me about it, I dismissed it as, okay, yeah, sure. You're kind of reaching for something. She gave me very detailed specifics about how it was going to happen and how I was going to experience it. I wrote them down. I kept the journal. And then a little less than 2 years, maybe like a year and a half later, those things happened exactly in the way that she said they would. And I hadn't remembered that she had told me that, but I had gone to the doctor. I was like being diagnosed. I was in the middle of this very stressful process. And my partner said, isn't that what that psychic lady told you? And I said, I don't think so. He remembered that I had mentioned it to him because it was a private session. So I went and found the journal where I had taken the notes, and it was all there exactly. And mind you, by the time this happened, this woman had passed away.
That's crazy.
The details of it were like it stopped me in my tracks. Like, holy cow. And so based on that, I responded accordingly because one of the things she had said to me was, you're going to have to push back. You're going to have to fight for your care because they're not going to believe it. And that started happening. So I did push back. And sure enough, I ended up having to have major surgery. And I spent a few years battling this. And it was something that she had told me in my psychic reading with her. That's wild.
Yeah.
And then she also talked about like a few of the guides that were around me. And she described their personalities. And it totally matched and makes sense with my personality. And so I was like, either A, this is true and accurate. And that's pretty crazy how then, if you believe, spirit can influence you.
Uh-huh.
Or B, she's just really good at reading personalities, and how dare she?
It's probably a little bit of column A and B, because I mean, you can't read Cancer out of a personality.
No.
So that's like, I mean, that's a pretty big, is that a premonition?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, if she was still alive, I'd probably see her regularly as my personal psychic.
You're like, as my therapist.
Speaking of therapy, you did mention a really good point about a lot of times people will go to psychics, especially mediums who work with spirit and the beyond, when they are in a place or time of grief.
Yeah, I mean, it gives them the ability to explore their grief without shame. Sometimes it gives them peace of mind. And sometimes it just sincerely offers them closure.
Yeah.
In a way that other humans cannot.
Yeah.
When you lose a person of significance, this is like pertaining more to loss of a loved one. Everyone experiences their loss incredibly different from one another. It is an individual experience. There's no right way to grieve the loss of somebody you love. There is only the way you grieve.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to grieve is to go through it. Sometimes it's harder for some than it is for others. And sometimes people grieve in a very light and airy and beautiful way, and others grieve in a really hard, dark, constraining way. And so I think when you're in that, this can be a tool to help you kind of move through some of the mental barriers that happen through that process of moving through grief.
Yeah, for sure. And people can use them even later in life, because I've had some readings with a medium decades after the loss of some of our loved ones. It's almost like it felt in some way it was the right time now, even though it had been so long. But I was in the place mentally where I was open to it. And it's like, okay, here's the right time to touch on this and see what's there, and to see if any of this information connects and resonates. And I do think the same one that I gifted to you is someone that I had seen before. And I only went to her because 4 other people had seen her before.
Yeah.
And gave me the referral. And as far as the mediumship part goes, I felt like she was so spot on that it was a little scary, because I was like, oh, damn, like you are reading into my soul right now. And I'm not okay with this. And it was cool because she has you do like a practice ahead of time where you like write down questions and things that she gives you a whole thing to do before you meet with her that you do privately just for yourself. And when I met with her, she was just going through all the things that I had written down without me having to ask. And that was crazy to me. It was like, yeah, this person. Funny story. I'm full of funny stories and I'm hilarious. When I went to go see this particular psychic, my partner is a healthy skeptic. I think he's open to a lot of things, but there are certain things that he's like, I don't know which ones you can trust and which ones you can't. Did something without telling me to see if it would come up in my reading.
Oh, yeah.
And it did. So he did a shout out to his father who had passed away, and basically said, if this person is legit, come through and give me a sign. And during my reading, she was describing a person that was like very prominent, trying to take over the room type way. And I kept saying, like, I don't know who this person is. And then she gave me some additional specifics that to describe him. And it clicked that it was my partner's father. And I said, oh, I know exactly who this is. And so we kind of went through the session. At the end of the session, I told my partner and he laughed and then proceeded to explain to me that he asked his dad to do that so that he would have a sign that this person was legit.
Yeah. She wasn't full of it. I mean, well, when you talk to her, you'll know right away. And she's not.
Oh, yeah. And I did find that it was healing in some ways, heartwarming in others with some of the things as far as like mediumship and grief and loss and like kind of hearing some of those things. I think sometimes it can be really hard. And if you're not in the right place, then it can maybe not benefit you as much. But I do know a lot of people who have gone specifically to psychics and mediums in the hopes of getting some sort of healing, connection, confirmation about their loved ones, making sure that they're okay. And what was interesting about her too, which I really like, is that she also does pets. She does pet readings for people who have lost their pets. And that's kind of how she came into the realm at some point, was a presentation that she did. And she was telling a story about someone's dog and literally bawling my eyes out. Beautiful story.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. Because I also have a dog. You have a dog.
Yeah.
And like, we're going to be wrecked.
Destroyed.
Absolutely wrecked.
I definitely don't want to think about that right now.
But it's okay. We have a psychic we can talk to. What do you think about pets coming through, about like seeing a psychic to communicate with your pets?
I mean, I will. Bottom line, period. Full stop. I've had better connections with pets than I've had with most living people. I think anything you love that you lose, and then there's leftover love that you don't know how to express, it can turn into pain. And so if you don't learn to work through it and grieve it, it can really become detrimental to your health. So I see it as a tool.
How do you think you know if a psychic is legit versus being a scam?
Yeah.
Or someone who's just skilled at reading people?
Well, I haven't seen enough to know for sure. Usually the people that I have interacted with, it's been like they've said something very pointed, very direct. And some of the recounts of like experiences that I've had or things that I've said to people.
Yeah, it's definitely in the details when they can tell you something that there's no way they could have known. Like, it's such a intricate detail that it's like, where did you get that from? There's absolutely no way. I went to see a psychic with someone that's a relative of ours who wanted me to go for moral support and was seeking the psychic services for a loss.
Yeah.
And was really hoping to like connect in some way. But she was so nervous and so unsure that it didn't work out the way she hoped it would work out. And what I appreciated about that person was that they didn't charge her. They didn't try to scam her out of any money. They were just like, I can tell that this is not what you were hoping for, and that's okay. We can just call it. I'm open to meeting with you again at a different time if you want, but as of right now, like, it's all good.
That's another strong point too. Like, if you're not getting anything out of it and it is just like a dead end, they shouldn't charge you, because then they didn't actually complete the service. And if they do charge you, then that's your like big red flag that maybe don't go back to them.
She didn't charge, so I was impressed with that. I do think she was telling her things that were resonating, but I think because this person was not ready for it, that they panicked and they kind of shut down.
Some of this stuff can be kind of intimidating. Here's the thing, right? Like, think about being in a room with somebody you don't know who's asking you to ask yourself questions that you never thought you should ask. Does that sound interesting to you?
It sounds fun to me.
And for most people, it sounds like a nightmare and or terrifying. And they're also like, remember that one girl who slipped that one note to you a long, long time ago about how bad your hair looked, and now you never forgave it, and now you go to work and Rebecca looks at you and you're like, fuck you, Rebecca. It's actually that girl. She died and came back as Rebecca. Like, you're like, what the fuck?
Oh, hell no.
With a little bit of that sprinkled in there.
I feel like when I've gone, I don't usually go in with a ton of questions because there is a part of me that is a little skeptical because I'm not sure, right? Like if I haven't seen you before or, maybe not enough people have recommended, then I'm going to be a little skeptical. I'm not sure if I can trust what you're telling me or trust your skill and ability just yet. So it's almost like a test. I intentionally go in with either some off the wall question that I don't ask out loud,
Yeah.
or I don't ask a ton of questions because I'm like, entertain me. It's like that joke where where a person goes to a psychic and knocks on the door and the psychic goes, "Who is it?" So they left. And I probably butchered that joke, but they left because it's a psychic. They should have known. But I do that on purpose because when I talk to friends who have gone to psychics or mediums or healers, they always tell me about all the questions that they ask.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, you gave them too much information.
Rookie mistake.
Now they can put it together and fool you into believing something because you actually said it to them first. And I always say, next time I'm going to ask a ton of questions to see if the experience is different. And then when I go, I don't ask anything.
Also, some psychics are very broad. They don't get down into the details. And in those instances, or the instances like you're referring your friends that ask 1,000 questions, then I think it's like you are asking for guidance. You're asking for the permission to ask yourself those questions. What you're really seeking is validation in those moments or some kind of guidance.
And I think it's still worth it. I have a lot
like-
of friends who have gone to psychics.
I have a handful of friends that have gone to psychic and healers, 3 friends that read their own cards. And then, I have a little Zoltar in my room. So in some communities, psychics, healers are deeply respected while others are seen as scams, as we're kind of talking on. Is it possible that some psychics are actually intuitive, energetically sensitive, but culture dismisses them?
Listen, everything is dependent on multiple variables. It just is the way of life, right? Like for us, a lot of our cultural background can be very accepting of the spiritual and the unknowns because it is really part of a lot of our familial practices. But then there's other parts of our same culture that reject it and are afraid of it and are connected to something negative. And so in those environments, it is looked down upon if you practice, believe, or even go see a psychic. So it varies, but I do think that there are a lot of people that are very talented in what they do, whether they're psychic, a medium, an energy healer, a palm reader, a tarot reader. There are a lot of people that are really good and somehow connected to something that we just can't explain fully. And the same is true in every other field. There are amazing, excellent, wonderful doctors out there. And there's some that are There's amazing mechanics that are like magical with cars. And then there's mechanics that'll just mess your shit up. And then you're like, thank you for nothing. I got to go to another mechanic.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is in any type of practice or field. And if it's something that you bring into your life and you want to participate in and learn more about, you just got to be careful and be smart about who you're going to, where you're spending your money, what you're believing, what you're not believing, right? You can't just give up your autonomy and say, here, psychic, you make all these decisions for me. You have to have a sense of kind of what you're looking for, what answers you're trying to seek for yourself. And then it's like bouncing some energy off of somebody to see if any of that resonates with you. Take what you want, leave what you don't, kind of thing.
Indubitably, I agree. In fact, I really agree with that, and that resonates, and it's true. I think it is very much like a Build-A-Bear experience for each of us.
What about like energy healers? I know you haven't gone to one, but would you go to like a Reiki healer? Like, what do you think about those kinds of things in the spiritual realm?
There's this Asian man and he does energy healing, and like people swear by him. You have to fly into Singapore, and then you see this guy, and like he does all this energy, and he doesn't touch your body, but people swear that he heals them. I was like, I'm just so curious. Like, they go to him and they swear, and he literally just like pushes what looks like energy, and the body moves, but he doesn't touch them. Blew my mind. I was like, who is this? How do I get there? And then I like realized he's probably super expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm just a broke girl with dreams. You know?
I mean, I'm always curious about that because I don't know how much I fully believe, and I do think it's experiential. So I haven't experienced that, you know, but I've watched it. I've read interviews about it. I've talked to people who do like energy healing kind of work. And I'm just like fascinated, but is it the placebo effect sometimes? But sometimes these people get healed from crazy things. And if we think about it scientifically, right, we know like energy is a real thing.
Yeah.
Like we're made of it. It exists all around us. It influences everything that we see and experience in the world.
You're not even supposed to eat with people you don't like, because then your body metabolizes your food improperly and it makes you sick.
Well, yeah. Have you seen the rice experiment? I think they've done it with different things, but many years, this is like decades ago. I think I was in grad school, and we read this study that was done on rice. 3 jars of rice, you have the control. And then you have 1 jar where you just spew negative things. So you're just sending negative energy to it every single day. And then you have 1 where you are giving it nothing but positive things and sending positive energy to it every day in the way of words, because the study was also about what we say to ourselves matters. But it linked it to this idea of energy, that like that's connected to our energy source and our vibration. So the vibration is felt through. And the one that got all the positivity never turned. It stayed vibrant and good. And then the one that got all the negativity started turning black very quickly at a much more rapid pace than the control. I think that, you know, that's just an example of the ways in which we can look at science and say, this is real. You know, will I fly across the world? I mean, I don't have that kind of money, but
I'm like, if we become rich, we're flying just for funsies. I'm curious. I do believe that energy healing is a thing because I've been around people and they also drain the life out of you.
Energy vampires.
Yeah. If they can drain the life out of you, there's some of them out there that can heal you.
Energy is a thing. I mean, it exists in our own culture, right? They use herbs and prayer and smoke and other things as rituals to cleanse and clear energy blockages, spiritual blockages. This is very ancestral. This is rooted in hundreds and hundreds of years of practice. Or like our other grandmother and her practice, there was a lot of that was ritual to cleanse energy. You know, it very much exists in our own history. Whether it's like some sort of bridge that connects to the spirit realm, some energetic realm, I don't know.
Even if you just take it upon yourself to give yourself your own healing energy, right? Like you're just sitting on a Sunday afternoon, you're telling all your cells, you're like, you guys are doing a great job. I'm so proud of you guys.
So proud of you.
We can turn it around in some areas, but come on, we got this. You're the jar of rice, baby. You're the jar of rice.
But yeah, I do think it's all fascinating. I've been curious about maybe doing Reiki, but there's so many people that do it. And again, I take recommendations. So if you have good recommendations, send them our way because we will definitely check them out. I haven't met someone who's found a Reiki practitioner that they felt passionate about. That doesn't mean they're not out there, and it just hasn't crossed my path yet. So I have not pursued it. I'm very much a believer of like the universe is going to bring me what I need in my path.
Well, that concludes this conversation.
I think it's just the squirrels.
There was a tapping right now.
Yeah, it's the squirrels. They collect acorns and they pile them up until they fall down.
Okay. Okay. Let's do a game.
Nothing like a game with spirit.
Not with spirit, with us. Spirit, sit this one out. All right. So we're going to do a hot seat game. Would you believe if, where I'm going to read scenarios and you're going to tell me if you believe it or not.
Okay.
Okay. Would you believe if a psychic told you your soulmate's name started with a Z?
I mean, no, because it doesn't, but for you, maybe. I don't know if I see you with a Zach or a Zachary or a Zeke or a Zendaya. I don't know.
Oh, we love Zendaya. Okay. Would you believe if they said you were royalty in a past life?
Yes, because I am a little snobby. And I have no reason to be. Like, I grew up dirt poor, as did you. And like, there is no memory in this lifetime of needing to feel that level of entitlement.
But
There's a part of me that's like, I think you're meant to be royalty. So yeah, I believe it.
For me, I think so too, but only because I drink my drinks really weird.
Royal hand.
Yeah, I do this with my pinky out. So at some point, I was a royalty, or just an asshole. Would you believe if they told you you'd be rich, but it would come from something totally unexpected, like a viral TikTok dance?
I mean, I'm pretty open. I just think at my age, I'm not going to be doing any viral TikTok dancing. Am I going to go make TikTok videos? Probably not.
I mean, I'd give it a shot. At this point, in this economy, would you believe if they predicted your dog secretly judged your life choices?
Yes, yours especially.
Yeah, mine does.
I don't think it's a secret.
You can see it on his face.
Yeah. And mine just gives judgy eyes. He had hair, he'd like swing it to the side.
Would you believe if they told you a celebrity crush was actually your twin flame?
It depends on who it is. Would you?
No.
Here's the thing with celebrities. It depends on how they became a celebrity, but I do think that most of what we see from celebrities is show. So I don't know. Like, I couldn't name somebody because I don't really know who these people are.
There's no celebrity that I would be like, oh, well, no, he's gone. He died. So no.
That's why you feel so lonely in the world, because your twin flame is gone.
Robin Williams. Or like Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, keep a close eye on you.
Would you believe if they warned you about Mercury retrograde messing up your love life? I feel like a lot of people get warned about this.
Some people very much believe in the shifts, right? And the stars and the moon and astrology.
Listen, sometimes it's Mercury retrograde and sometimes you are your Mercury retrograde. As long as you know the difference, then you're good.
Right?
Would you believe if they predicted a mysterious stranger would change your life at Costco?
Again, I can only be hopeful. I can only hope. Like, a billionaire just happens to be in Costco, is confused and lost. I help them because I'm so nice, and everywhere I go, people think I work there. I don't know why, but this happens to me every freaking where I go. And then they were like, wow, you're so helpful. I'm going to give you $100 million.
They change my life all the time. They give me free samples, and then sometimes I buy the thing. Would you believe if they predicted you'd live past 100, but only if you gave up cafecito?
I don't think I'll live anywhere near 100. With or without coffee. Like, I don't know, y'all. This body is like really struggling.
I'm pretty sure I'm dead if I have no coffee now.
Calming me while I'm living.
It really is. Trying to wake up right now is like a chore, dude. Would you believe if they said your houseplants were carrying messages from your ancestors? I already know what your answer's going to be.
I talked to the plants. I learned this from our own mother, who we used to think was a little batshit crazy because she would sing to her plants and talk to her plants when we were growing up. And she would always say, if you don't do this, they won't grow and they won't be happy. And she always had good, healthy plants. And then I tried taking care of plants and they all died because I didn't sing to them. I didn't talk to them. I didn't make them happy. So now we're doing that over here. We talk to our plants. I've got several plants in a little mini indoor garden going on.
They're thriving.
And they're doing well. Whether they have messages for me, I don't know. But I do think there's something really mindful, which can be considered spiritual for some people when you're in community with plants. I do like to go hug a good tree, I don't know. I'm always hoping for some wisdom.
I actually am kind of very similar to our mother and Andy in this respect. I love plants. And I really believe that they hear and they feel and they see. I don't know how they see, but I know they see. I went to this one art exhibit a long time ago where the plants were making music. And every time you touched a leaf, it connected to a frequency, and then the frequency was transmitted into an actual sound. And so when you would pet the leaves of the plants, you were making music. It was a very beautiful thing. I just love plants.
There's a lot of cool research being done about how spiritual and energetic plants actually are.
Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating.
I also believe too that healing the planet could be as simple as us watering our plants.
Yeah.
Because like they do the job of cleaning the air, and sometimes counties don't even allow us to water our plants and our trees and shit, and then they're all dying. Like they need water too, guys. Little story time. I went into an office space and all their plants were dead. When I had first started.
That's bad energy.
They were like, your plant is doing really well. Everybody brought their plants out of the office and they brought them to me. I healed every single plant. 2 of them were dead down to the stump. Fully grew back into little trees.
Their energy was bad. I do think that if you bring a plant into a space, it will tell you something about the energy of that space depending on how the plant thrives. Similar to like when they used to take the little bird into the mines, and that if the bird started dying, then they knew that it was toxic and they had to get out or it stopped singing. And I do think that something similar with plants is that the plants are absorbing the energy in the environment. And so if they start dying, this says something about the space itself.
Well, I brought them all back and then I left and apparently they're dying. So take that as you will. Alrighty. So where do you land? Skeptic, believer, or somewhere in the middle?
I mean, I think we all know that I'm a believer with a healthy dose of skepticism.
I definitely land somewhere in the middle, leaning more to believer. Obviously, I very much appreciate that we had this like really inclusive upbringing that allowed us to explore these things very early on. I'm also very aware that humans are humans, and there's a lot of people that have good intentions with what they do. And there's also people that do not have good intentions with what they do.
At the end of the day, like the value isn't always in the prediction, but more so in the reflection and what we're getting out of it. Whether that's a psychic, you're seeing a medium, a palm reader, an energy healer. It's like, how is it going to help you? And if it's helping you in some way, then go for it.
So whether you're team skeptic, team spiritual, or team, I'll just pull one tarot card and see what happens. Psychics definitely give us something to talk about.
Maybe they can predict your future, but sometimes the real magic is what they spark inside you.
Thanks for hanging out with us on this cosmic ride. And if you've ever had a psychic moment that totally blew your mind or made you laugh out loud, we want to hear about it.
Stay curious, stay caffeinated, and maybe your palms moisturized in case someone wants to randomly read them. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.